there, I'm Chef Ani, and today we are making something so super exciting. This is a super easy, super delicious, and absolutely gorgeous raspberry tart. Now this is one of those recipes I really get excited about because it combines super easy, but yet unbelievably delicious. You are going to love it. Now I did a little look-see on my website to see which recipes you all are trying, which pages have been visited the most, and you guys are doing a lot of baking recently, which is excellent. I've been doing a ton of baking too, so I thought let's share another one of my favorite baking recipes. Every time I make this recipe, it disappears right before my eyes because my family loves it that much. So let's get right into this video. So enough talking, let's get cooking. So we're going to get started by making our tart crust. I like to use a combination of flours because I like to give you options of what you can use. I have some all-purpose flour here and I'm just gonna sieve it. Look at this cute thing. I don't know why I don't use this thing more. It's adorable. Maybe because it takes a little bit of time. Today I'm also using some sprouted spelt flour. My favorite brand is 1 Degree, but if you don't have sprouted spelt flour, you can also substitute with something else. Make sure to check out my website for a detailed recipe. I'll put a link down below. This is a great way to get a little bit of nutrition into this sweet dessert. We're also going to add a little almond flour. I like using almond flour, but if you're allergic to nuts or something like that or don't like almonds, just use regular flour. That will substitute just fine. But I do like the almond flour.
I think that's gonna work.
And this isn't working well, so we're just gonna dump it in. It'll be fine. You don't have to sieve this. Just, make sure that you don't see any big lumps. Add some all-natural cane sugar, but you could use the sweetener that you like, coconut sugar, or really whatever you want to use. And we're also going to add a little bit of salt. Now we're going to add some coconut oil and we're going to cut it in using a pastry cutter. But if you don't have a pastry cutter, that's okay. You could use a couple of knives or a fork. You're just trying to cut in the oil so that when it bakes, get that kind of crispiness and that lightness that you want. Vegan margarine adds a nice flavor and it also helps it be light and create a nice texture to this crust. Now you can do this in a food processor, that would be quick. You just do this whole process in there. But today I'm showing you how to do it by hand so that you can see that you can really do this whether you have a lot of fancy equipment or not. Look at this. It's a nice crumbly mixture, but I've cut in the oil so there's no large big pieces of it. It looks kind of like sand, right? That's what we want. And last but not least, we're going to add a little bit of vanilla extract and a tiny bit of ice water just to bring it together. So you don't want to add so much ice water that this becomes wet. The secret to a really good dough here is for it to not be overly wet. You want it pretty crumbly. It's better to add a little at a time than to have to try to take it out somehow, because that's not going to work that well. So you want to go slow and add just a little bit at a time. All right, so you want to grab your dough, and we're not making bread dough, so you don't want like a big mass of dough. But if you squeeze this a little bit and it holds together like this, you're good to go. So I'm going to take about 1/3 of this recipe, reserve it for later. And you can see it has a removable base like this, so it makes it much easier to get the tart out of the pan when you can remove the base like this. Now a tip is not to spray this, because when it bakes you'll find that if you spray it, it won't have anything to hold on to, so it'll kind of sink to the bottom, it'll slink to the bottom. And I like to take a spoon and just kind of spread quite a bit to the edges, and then you're just going to start forming it in the pan, just pressing it down in the pan. This is just where you have to have a little bit of patience, but how simple is this? Now there are tarts out there where they require you to like roll it out and then put it in, and that is all fine and dandy. I love those tarts too, but remember how I started this video off saying that this is a super simple and easy? Well, this is super simple and easy. You don't get much easier than this. If spoon doesn't work, when all else fails, use your hand, because they work really well. God gave us hands for a reason, right? This is a perfect dessert. You could have this for Mother's Day, wouldn't it? Would you like to get this for Mother's Day?
Love it.
Love it? There you go. From a mom. All right, we're almost there. I am just being super particular, but you don't have to be. I mean, some days when I'm just feeling extra whimsical, I just plop it in there and then whatever comes out is perfect. But today, because you're watching me, I'm a little more particular. But if you weren't here, I probably wouldn't be this particular. So I just have some parchment paper here, and I'm placing my pie weights in here, but you could use baking beans or whatever you use normally when you bake a pie crust. And we're going to pop this in the oven to bake now. So while our tart crust is baking, we're going to work on our filling. And this is a super easy filling. Do you remember a couple weeks ago, I made raspberry jam that I was just so excited about? Well, you know what? We're going to use it in this recipe. So if you've already made my raspberry jam and you have it in your fridge, this is the simplest thing because that's what you need to make this raspberry tart. So we have our jam, and then I'm going to add a few extra frozen raspberries to this. It's gonna be incredible. Look at that. So our tart crust has come out of the oven. I took the baking beans out and I let it cool just for about 10-15 minutes, and now we can add our filling. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, all we have left to do is to take that little bit of the crumble mixture that we saved earlier, and we're just going to crumble it on top. Look at that. It's going to create such a nice, beautiful topping to this. Okay, now we just pop this back in the oven to bake. Doesn't this look incredible? I know my family is going to be very happy that I bring this home today. So I am going to save it and eat it with them. But I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to join me in this adventure to eat healthier, one recipe at a time. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday with another video. Hey there, I'm Chip. There's a guy walking. Oh, person in a red coat. Hello, person. Ah, that's when you know you've been in quarantine a long time. Where it's like, oh, people, hello.